So what if I told you right now, just out of nowhere, out of the complete blue, that you're wrong? I don't care what it is. You're wrong. How would that make you feel? Probably makes you angry, huh? It's okay. Because in this video, we're going to be talking about that.
Nice balls, bro.
Hello, my name is Yuri, and today, the video I decided to make is yet another yapping video because you guys seem to really like it when I yap. The main issues that I wanted to bring up today is the whole lack of connection that we have as a society nowadays, the whole issue with people's ways of seeing the world, which is why I started the video saying that you're wrong. Maybe you're not exactly wrong, but I feel like a lot of people nowadays have a very wrong mindset. Actually, wrong would be the incorrect term for it. I feel like most people nowadays see life in a very negative way, and I genuinely don't think that that's the way that people should see things. Now, personally, the main issues that I wanted to mention today were comparisons, problematic media, the whole death of social spaces, and maybe if I have the time, we're gonna be talking a bit about censorship as well, but we'll see. The main issues that I wanted to mention on comparison is that, for starters, I feel like people have this weird obsession with comparing themselves to other people when they shouldn't, because there's a lot of context that goes into anything, right? Like if we tie it back to my old video behind creation and everything, I feel like if you compare yourself to an artist that's been doing something for 10 or so years and you just started, I feel like that's an unfair comparison because your environment hasn't facilitated you to keep up with the same level of abilities as that person yet, right? So something that I think is important is for you to ground yourself first and remember that you're not going to be able to make things perfect right away. And it's okay to take your time and struggle with things on the beginning. After all, you can't really do anything without struggling first, right? It's like trying to play a difficult game and thinking you're going to clear it in the first try. You may be able to do that, but it's very unrealistic. So maybe ground yourself up a bit and be okay with failure. That's another thing I want to mention as well, is how people nowadays perceive failure as this ritual of shame and that you shouldn't have tried to begin with, because I feel like that's just wrong. I don't know. I myself consider myself a person that makes a lot of mistakes, and I genuinely am so happy when I make a mistake, because more often than not that means that I can learn from that mistake and not do it again in the future, because I feel like learning from your mistakes is the easiest way that you can learn something, right? But I don't know, I feel like that part is just gone nowadays, and I want you, the viewer, to think about the last time you compared yourself to something or someone. And I want you to answer honestly. Did comparing yourself to that help you in any way? Because if it didn't, then maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Now, there's a difference between comparing yourself and striving for something. You can look at someone, see that they are talented at what they do, and think to yourself, yeah, I'm gonna reach that level one day. And I feel like that's a healthy way of looking things. But when you compare yourself to someone else, and you're like, oh, but this just didn't turn out the way I imagined, and I'm so bad at everything I do. This whole negative mindset, I feel like that's an issue that should be addressed, and you should try to fix it. So, for once in your life, I don't know if you're an overly positive person or an overly negative. If you're overly positive, that's fine. But if you're overly negative, and you think that that's getting in your way, because if it's not, then hey, we're all different in our own ways, so that's fine. But if it is getting in your way, try taking it slow a bit, alright? You don't need to make the Mona Lisa in a day. No one is here to actually actively judge you. And if someone is here to actively judge you, well, hey, they're your day one haters, and that's something you're just gonna have to learn to ignore and live with, because for every good person on this planet, there's always gonna be someone out there that will try to actively push you down. They're always gonna try to shame you out of doing the things that you enjoy, and you shouldn't listen to those people. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is online spaces and how people have been doing lately. Because I've been noticing, because I'm active quite often on Twitter and I'm active quite often on YouTube. Sometimes I go on Twitch, not too frequently, but I do stream there once in a while. Shameless plug, by the way. But I've noticed that a lot of communities nowadays are so hyper focused on policing other communities that they forget to make their own communities like an actual positive place to talk about their own interests. And I feel like that lately has contributed towards antisocial internet culture that we've been living on lately. Because I've been noticing that a lot of people just don't partake in social activities anymore. What do I mean by that, you may ask? Well, I'll find myself in games, and I will see that no one is chatting or no one is actively talking. I will go into social media spaces and see that most of it is just interaction bait, rage bait, or some other kind of bait. And generally speaking, it just seems to be like the natural way that things are on the internet nowadays. And that makes me a bit sad because back in my day, I know I'm gonna sound like an uncle over here, but internet spaces back in the day were so talkative. Everyone would just talk, like they would say the most random shit out of like nowhere, and I personally enjoyed those moments. I feel like most of my time on the internet was spent like gushing over like some random guy's like random commentary about something he enjoyed. After all, isn't that basically what YouTube is? You're pretty much just showing up to like some random guy that decided to talk nonstop. Hey, that's me. But I don't know. I feel like everyone nowadays is so distant and communities are so much harder to make. There's so little like actual community spaces with genuine people that want to make genuine connections. That's why internet friendships nowadays don't even last like more than a month or two. Which once again, I want to emphasize that that's not how it's always been. My friend group is a bunch of guys I met on the internet, and we've known each other for 10 or so years. I feel like that lately has been a shift that comes with this whole individualistic mindset that people have nowadays. That you have to do everything on your own, and that if you can't survive on your own, you're no good. And I just have to like mention, by the way, the hypocrisy in that. Because everyone will say that, oh, you're not doing things on your own, you're such a loser. Name me one person nowadays that can do things on their own, because like even billionaires nowadays have companies to do the things that they need. You have people that make clothes, you have people that prepare food, that go hunt like animals. There's like sections for every single thing, right? Because humans aren't expected to do everything on their own. We are a society. And another thing that I don't particularly get about society nowadays is this hyperfixation on like punishing that which is different. And when I say that which is different, I genuinely mean everything, like skin color, gender, opinions, like body shapes, everything, the whole spectrum. I feel like we're so scared of the unknown that like we just witch hunt people for being different for no apparent reason, right? Now, I'm sure everyone has a motive for doing the things that they do, but I genuinely can't imagine a motive that would justify the things that I see on the internet nowadays. It's genuinely out of this world. And now that I mention that, I wanted to talk about problematic media as well, because that's another topic that particularly me as the as the poster boy of all things edgy. I want to say that I personally think that people nowadays judge books on their cover, like straight up, just right away. Like they see something they don't like, and then they just put a label on it and don't give it a shot. Which, you know what? Fair. But I feel like this whole ideology that you should witch hunt people that don't align with you is like so counterintuitive and so unproductive. Because most of the things that I particularly treasure nowadays is when someone is willing to like sit down with me and like debate me on the things that I like, because I think it's important to sit down and argue about the things that you enjoy, right? I think it's important to see a different perspective. And I feel like that is genuinely gone nowadays. If you say that you disagree with something, people will immediately jump you and get hyper defensive over these things, and it's genuinely quite pathetic. But I don't mean to like judge the people that do this, right? Because nowadays we live in a society where people are being judged from a very young age, and most of these issues stem from some sort of like past event, because a lot of people nowadays live in the past, and that's fine in the sense that it's okay for you to have past issues that are unsolved, but I don't think it's okay for you to let that dictate who you are today. I feel like you should try to come to terms with the things that happened in your past so that you can grow to be a more successful and open-minded individual, because I genuinely think that diversity in all shapes really is incredibly important for a society. After all, if you want to admit it or not, most of society is built on diversity, right? There's the diversity of sports, diversity of media, diversity of genres, diversity in types of love. There's diversity everywhere. And I also find it funny because a lot of people like fantasize about even more diversity, like how people want cat girls to be real. And I find that funny because nowadays we're still trying to figure out how to live with people with a different skin color, and let alone a completely different breed. But that's another topic for another video. And that also ties to the things I wanted to talk about censorship, because I see so many people nowadays advocate for censorship, and I'm sorry, that's just not the way to go. Because censoring things that aren't made for you is just a selfish way of pretty much saying you're an entitled loser. I'm sorry, I have no other way of putting that. Because realistically speaking, if you see something and you don't like it, you can always just look away. It is that simple. I'm tired of pretending that it's not. And there's this whole argument that people use nowadays, the whole think about the children movement. Because, oh, children need to be protected, children this, children that. For starters, I personally think people need to stop thinking so much about children, because because we have way too many billionaires already doing that, apparently. But all jokes aside, I think that people need to start remembering that children are meant to be protected by their parents, and that this whole issue of children being in vulnerable positions comes from a much greater issue in society as a whole. And I feel like all of the critiques nowadays go towards, oh, but companies should be doing this, companies should be doing that, and you don't realize that you've been stuck in your job for like 9 hours to receive a minimum wage pay that's barely enough to put food on the table. I personally think the issue is there, but what do I know, right? I'm just some random VTuber. Genuinely, all I want you to take away from this video is that, please, for the love of God, try to be more friendly in whatever community you are. I don't know what type of person you are. I don't know if you've been having a stressful day or stressful week, but I can assure you of one thing. Making people frustrated isn't going to make your day better, because at the end of the day, once everything is all said and done for, you're still gonna be alone in your room with no friends and wishing you had someone to vent, talk to, or even love. So please try not to like frustrate people too often. I understand that when you're with friends, it can be pretty entertaining to see people get frustrated. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I'm a saint that doesn't like laugh at people's frustrations every once in a while, because I do. But I think it's important for us to remember that there's a time and a place for it, and the internet, as anonymous as we all are, there is another human being on the other side of our rage bait, and you don't know. That person could be your friend, that person could be your best friend, and you're trying to push them away. So I think it's important to pay attention to that. Aside from that, I also wanted to bring attention to the fact that please stop with the whole censorship thing and the whole like canceling of like dark subcultures or like problematic media. Now, once again, let's not get it twisted here. When I say problematic media, I mean dark, edgy stories like, I don't know, like Berserk, like Black Souls. I've been seeing that game getting canceled a lot too, which is a shame because I really liked that game. But What I mean by problematic media is those games and not, people who are actually doing literal crimes because that we should be worried about those, but that's a different topic. I think that's generally all I wanted to say. As closing thoughts, I want you nowadays to just try to be more observant, try to look around, and try to just live your life a bit more. I think that's something that people don't do nowadays, and I like inviting people to think every once in a while. So try to look around. See if you're making any of these mistakes. See if you're maybe not being as open minded as you feel like you could be. See if there's someone in your life that maybe is like very narrow minded and try to expand their mind or not. It's genuinely not your job to do any of that. It's just genuinely my thoughts on the matter. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. Thank you all for listening to me. Thank you for all the support I've been getting. You guys have been great. This has been Yuri, signing off. Interaction bait, rage bait, or some other kind of bait. God damn it. But yeah, some. God damn it.